For the first time in the history of the Olympics, the hosts have set themselves a carbon budget: 1.58 million tons of CO2, the equivalent annual emissions of 150,000 French people. That's a lot of planet-warming gases, but on the climate scale, the Paris Games won't feel as heavy as previous editions. So how exactly does Paris intend to stay within that limit? First, by drastically avoiding new constructions, one of the main sources of pollution, relying instead on existing and temporary venues like the Stade de France and the Grand Palais Éphémère, a timber structure that will be dismantled after the Games. In a recent report, non-profits Carbon Market Watch and Éclairci set out to assess the credibility of those claims, concluding the city's construction strategy could be considered, quote, robust.
There's already 95% of existing infrastructure. For temporary venues, the committee has also pledged to repurpose materials, enabling an additional reduction in emissions. And for new constructions, they've promoted wood as a building material, which generates 30% less carbon per square metre compared with a standard project in France today.
Another source of savings is energy. France's grid is already dominated by nuclear power, a low-carbon source. But the committee has also announced a target of 100% renewables. In reality, 80% of energy demand in French Olympic venues will be met by wind and solar farms, the remaining 20% with nuclear power. To compensate for this difference, state energy supplier EDF has committed to generating additional renewable power. In contrast, 4 million litres of diesel were burned during the London Games. For organisers, that model had to be avoided at all costs, ditching diesel generators in favour of power grid connections.
Every venue hosting Olympic events will be connected to the power grid. This has never been done before. At previous games, some venues had to rely on diesel generators for power. We decided to install electricity terminals in places like the Trocadero instead of bringing in trucks full of diesel.
But do such efforts go far enough to rein in greenhouse gases? With nearly 13 million tickets sold and 15,000 athletes competing, transport emissions are set to make up a third of the Games' carbon footprint. Critics say organisers have failed to promote the use of France's extensive railway network.
Take the Euro football tournament in Germany, for example. Train tickets were discounted for international journeys. There was also a 36-hour train pass, allowing event ticket holders to use public transport for free for 36 hours. None of that was done here in Paris.
The full tally of emissions will be published by the Olympic Committee only after the Games are over in October. According to organisers, as of early June, 1/3 of the Games' carbon budget had already been spent.